I'm going to do a short video on basic off-the-grid tips and pointers. I'm not an expert. I've made plenty of mistakes. Some of the advice that I've given you is based on my own mistakes and also based on some of my own successes. So I'm going to steer away from, really discussing specifically Portland or Southern Colorado where I'm at now and just try to do a basic one-size-fits-all video. When people are looking at off-the-grid locations, first of all, and they're looking for land, it is important to have water, but you may need to make some cuts to your expectations. You can haul water. There's all different types of things that can help you. Go without going to the store for weeks to months on end if you're willing to get the pumps, if you're willing to get the buckets. It's not likely that we're going to see everything happen at once. If you're preparing for a major disaster, it's likely that it's either a cascade of events or just one out of a series of predicted or expected events. Plus, you may be in a specific area where you have one specific particular risk. But overall, a lot of us are trying to get away from dense population centers or situations where we're going to be surrounded by people that have limited food and water. That's going to make for a stressful situation, a very stressful situation. And a lot of major cities today face that predicament, even though a lot of people have decided to, be in certain areas because there's more rain or, because they have some sort of a system. It are those very places on the planet. I can hear thunder. Those are the places on the planet that are going to be the most at risk. The food's not being grown there, it's being trucked in on the freeway with the use of electricity, working vehicles, so on and so forth. The most important thing is to be able to be in the silence. A lot of people can't do that or don't want to. For me personally, one thing that I struggled with in trying to go off grid was being able to come to you live or maintain my website when I was off the grid because I didn't have internet, speaking a couple of years ago. It's one of the reasons I'm not fully off the grid right now. I feel the need to bring to you information on a regular basis, get some rest. I also enjoy being in close proximity to nature. I'm not going full extreme. But I will say, looking at this in retrospect, a couple years later, with a little bit more knowledge as to the damaging effects of Wi-Fi, too much internet, too much media, there's something beautiful and powerful about being in certain parts of the planet where cell phone signals won't go in that area because the mesas and mountains actually block the signal. I find value in that, especially in a day and age where there's so much electromagnetic pollution, ELF pollution, mind control. Electromagnetic mind control targeted at dense population centers. Massive amounts of geoengineering over dense population centers. So I want to go over those very basics. I don't know if those are tips, but these are some things relating to off the grid that sometimes some of these places are more valuable than less valuable because there's less people around them. As long as your land isn't contaminated, but if you want to check your soil to make sure you're not being poisoned. But there is a reason why, whether we like it or not, the government specifically trains in certain areas, like the Piñon Canyon site over this way, about an hour. Over there's uranium in that soil, and other things. And being there, it's not an easy, it's not a peaceful backdrop to have the military exploding things within earshot. But that's this area. You may have areas near you where there isn't any of that activity going on. And I would think about it making attempts right now. When it comes to preparedness, so there's off the grid, but there's also being prepared for an event. But right now, this video started with the concept of going off grid. So for those of you that intend on sticking it out in the city, that's kind of a specific discussion. But for people that are thinking about going off the grid, there's time to go and scope out places that feel right to you. Open up a map of America, start looking at different states, start putting your finger over the state that is of interest to you. Look at Google Earth and look at where there's access to water. Look at where you're, far enough away from any major road, at least 5 miles off a major road, and look at the cost of the land. Your neighbors, that's what's really important as well, whether you're going to have neighbors that are going to be a problem or whether it's going to be a peaceful experience. And of course, taking a look at the building code restrictions and regulations in a particular area. Start making phone calls. I've mentioned the San Luis Valley for many years because you can do stuff here that's illegal almost everywhere else in the country. That is, if you only have so much money just for the land and you just want to come and start building, well, there's a building permit for your one building, but if it's just a small little shack, you don't even need one. You don't actually have to have a full-on septic tank that costs thousands of dollars. You have to have something. But the rules and regulations are far more mild here than anywhere else. But maybe you have the capital somewhere and you want to be on that property and you've done research and it has, you know, great growing potential for growing fruits and vegetables. Perhaps there's enough land there for your horses and your cattle. And so maybe it's worth the investment to put that money towards the building codes. But you want to be away from these dense population centers where there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of problems at once that never bother to get prepared, that don't know the first thing about food supply, that are angry at one particular race or sex or political party. We have a lot of human beings under mind control right now that are showing themselves to be a threat to others and themselves. This is the danger of being around the dense population center. So I hope that I'm giving you some off-the-grid inspiration more than anything. Don't start rambling about how you don't have enough money or whatnot. I initially ended up living the off-the-grid lifestyle when I completely felt that I had nothing. I felt in my own life isolated from society. Being a controversial YouTuber, I felt exiled from society. I felt that my stuff was too out there for me to even be in society. In a way, I still do. But after a few years of doing this, I'm a little better at it than I was when I was in more of a desperate situation a couple years ago. Now I've learned a few things about not getting myself into bad situations. Another off-the-grid tip: don't ever become dependent on other people. And don't, enter a situation where you don't have your own vehicle where you can easily escape. Keep your vehicle in good working condition. We can go deeper and just in general, don't carry more than you can use. Be frugal. Of course, learn how to cook for yourself. Learn how to eat for yourself. Learn how to conserve water. Learn how to entertain yourself and entertain your mind. Learn how to deal with the silence. There's lots of things to think about when it comes to living the off-the-grid lifestyle when people are used to the hand-to-mouth experience, and people are used to watching TV all day, and people are used to getting their power simply from conventional electricity and never even having a solar panel just once in their life, even though it only costs $100 now on Craigslist to get yourself something like 100 watts. What is stopping people from actually starting to slowly implement these things? Go off-grid, bug out, camp a little bit, meditate. Don't make it a fear thing. Make it a spiritual thing. And you know what? I'm going to talk more about the spiritual connection of living off the grid in the next video. But, as these things heat up, Jade Helm and your concerns about CERN and all these things take place, start thinking about if you actually genuinely are interested at some point, start doing some pilot tests, some beta tests, bug out, or go on a vacation for a month. Or if you end up laid off soon, go somewhere for a month as you think about things in between your next job, or if you're going through a breakup. If there was just one thing holding you to that city, and it was that relationship, or it was that child, or if it was that job, once something comes to shake that reality up, it's time for you to free yourself and find a way to start living the free life. And certain things are meant to happen for a reason. I also want to leave you with that. So if some of you are going to be losing your jobs in the next couple of months or next couple of years, and you find yourselves in some desperate situations, please don't let yourself become another product of the society, which is just to fall through the cracks of these dense population centers. I feel like I'm putting out this information for a reason, and that's going to help somebody out there. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.